This film contains rare footage of a U.S. Navy operation just off Chicago's shoreline that changed the course of World War II.
The U.S. had to get going. We'd just been attacked.
The Navy needed carrier pilots.
The idea of putting training aircraft carriers on Lake Michigan was brilliant.
There were probably between 130 and 150 crashes.
You're down low, you can hook a wing. School's out, crash and burn.
There were fires. Deckhands would walk into an engine.
15,000 carrier pilots trained on Lake Michigan.
These are the guys that shot the Japanese Air Force out of the sky. They were the ones that changed the course of the war.
The passage of time tends to obscure history, and there's little evidence today of an event that took place over 70 years ago, just off the Chicago shoreline, when 15,000 carrier pilots were trained for battle against the Japanese. That event would change the course of World War II.
Take number 2 hose off, number 1 hose is staying there with you.
On a cool spring morning, Army veterans Taras Lysenko and partner Alan Olson of A&T Recovery, a duo dedicated to locating and recovering historically important aircraft, headed out to coordinates on Lake Michigan, one of America's Great Lakes. Today they'll retrieve a World War II fighter plane, one of many on the lake bottom. They've been trolling these waters for more than 30 years, and with permission from the U.S. Navy, the team has located the resting place of some 70 aircraft and recovered 40 of them.
Which way, Paul? Straight there.
Now, 45 miles from shore, they've arrived over their target. It's a Grumman Wildcat.
The FM-2 Wildcat. It was a stumpy little thing, kind of big Hershey bar wing on there, narrow track landing gear, built to be rugged type of carrier-based aircraft.
37 Wildcats went into Lake Michigan during a wartime Navy training operation, including this one, resting upside down since 1944. They know its condition from a previous survey when they recorded side-scan sonar images and video using a remotely operated vehicle, or ROV.
We've taken the ROV and we videotaped it and we could see it. The tail in the plane fell in the water and the tail is separated laying right next to the airplane.
Today, minus aquatic residents, the Wildcat is coming up.
You have to be very meticulous to survive down there. A sloppy person won't make it.
I have a very successful track record. I'm here.
There's a lot of things that can go wrong. I mean, one of your regulators could free flow, your dry suit could leak, your mask could leak, your buddy could have a problem. There's a lot of things that can go wrong.
But how did these now priceless warbirds end up in the frigid depths of Lake Michigan? The story begins in early 1941. Chicagoans were certainly aware of the conflict raging in Europe, but But few had any real sense of the sacrifices being made by our future allies. But forward-thinking Commander Richard F. Whitehead of the 9th Naval District, Chicago, was already preparing for America's involvement in the war. He'd embraced an ingenious proposal from a civilian, Merchant Mariner John J. Manley. Working along the Atlantic seaboard in 1941, Manley noticed that aircraft carriers training pilots required destroyer escorts for protection from predatory German submarines. Wouldn't training carrier pilots in the safety of Lake Michigan be less dangerous? Whitehead agreed and immediately began lobbying the Navy to embrace the Lake Michigan experiment.